Good morning, beautiful people. It is Wednesday, January 15th, 2020. We got a good one for you today. We got Thomas Morstead, legendary punter from the New Orleans Saints, joining us. We got Jeff Garcia, the quarterback formerly of the Niners, and also a legend of a human, calling in the second hour. And at 10:40 here in the first hour, we have Tucker Barnhart, Gold Glove winning catcher for the Cincinnati Reds, to talk about this sign-stealing malarkey happening with Alex Cora, first with the Astros, and then, of course, in the city of Boston. Of course.
No.
Of course, there's another cheating thing that is involving Boston. I think, by the way, unbeknownst to the fans of Boston, which I think on your side here, I don't think you guys deserve the automatic criticism that you're going to get that your city is specifically involved in another cheating scandal.
Well, for the record, none of us knew, okay? None of the fans knew.
You took a poll.
We took a poll. We're just bystanders here.
I think the big news today, though, is something that is very near and dear to my heart. Luke Kuechly deciding to retire out of nowhere, literally out of nowhere, via a social media video at the age of 28. This guy made 7 Pro Bowls out of 8 seasons that he played in the NFL. I think he has a run of all pros as well. He's a guy that I got to meet at the Pro Bowl that was so interesting to me because he's like Clark Kent. That's the guy.
Yeah.
He's like Clark Kent. You see him off the field. He has glasses on. He's very quiet. Shakes your hand. Hi, how's it going? Very nice to meet you. I'm like, Luke, nice to meet you as well. Went to Boston College. Obviously has an incredibly big brain. And then when he gets on the field, he flips a switch and becomes an absolute maniac, calling out the other team's play before they can even call it, going sideline to sideline. Freak athlete. The ability to will his team to victories once again and after again. I mean, he was just a lightning rod on the football field. A second coming of Urlacher and all these other linebackers that you learned to love growing up in football. Luke Kuechly was just a very, very special football player. Now, at the age of 28, he has decided to retire young. He's made $50+ million already. Well, congrats to Uncle Sam making $23 probably million out of that. So he has over $25 million in the bank account that he has, I assume, saved and done proper things with because he's a business marketing degree from Boston College, which is not an easy school. And while I was watching and listening to his retirement video that he put out there, which I'm assuming, by the way, after we've gotten to know Luke Kuechly a little bit, we did some stuff with him at the Super Bowl, met him at the Pro Bowl. I think he was in that room probably alone with that camera, by the way. He's not a guy who's comfortable or loves speaking in front of a camera. He's not a guy that loves a lot of attention. He just loves the football, and I think he loves his teammates. So whenever he started speaking and he was talking about how he wanted to retire, I think the part that really got to me was about a minute 30 into this speech, he starts talking about how he still wants to play, but he doesn't feel as if he is fast enough, physical enough, or whatever to keep up with the guys that are already in the linebacker locker room next to him. And that was like heartbreaking to me, to see this guy who is this Greek god on a football field, this man who is this super alpha. He almost started breaking down, and it's like he had a moment where he realized that he just didn't have it like he used to have it. Now, granted, he just made another Pro Bowl. This is a guy who I would assume Matt Rule was banking on being a leader and a stallion in the locker room for him going forward. But in Luke Kuechly's eyes, he didn't think he had it like he once had it. And this can be a tough conversation with yourself. A lot of people don't have it. That's why you see a lot of people hang on until the very end. Try to collect as much cash as you possibly can. When I retired, there's people in the media telling me that I didn't have any friends because my friends weren't gluing my jersey on me so I can continue to collect cash until my legs fall off, basically, is what people said. That mindset has been one around for a long time because the NFL is a dream job for a lot of humans. Those who don't make it to the NFL and always dreamed of being NFL players assume that you should want to stay in the NFL forever. But what people need to know is to be in the NFL is a privilege, not a right. For me, I no longer wanted to focus entirely on kicking a football. I wanted to focus on other things, and I think the Shield deserves people that want to focus entirely on being a professional athlete. I didn't want to focus day to day on what would make me a better ball kicker. I wanted to utilize my brain and my time and my efforts to do other things. Now, granted, I was staring down a third surgery in 4 years. I didn't exactly love going to work anymore due to the general manager that was there for the years before I was there. But ultimately, at the end, I didn't want to do and sacrifice my time in life to make sure that I would still be good at my job. When I was listening to Luke Kuechly speak in that video, it sounded like to me it was a guy that was obviously didn't love the thought that he didn't have it anymore. But also it sounded like a guy who was potentially excited to turn his efforts elsewhere. It sounded like a guy who didn't want to have to commit his entire life to being great again. Because as you get older, and this is what's so impressive about Tom Brady, this is what's so impressive about Adam Vinatieri, this is what's so impressive about the people, Aaron Rodgers, that get older and older, and Drew Brees, and can stay at that high level, is the amount of commitment that you have to maintain to not only stay physically shaped, mentally sharp, but that competitive edge that has to keep you waking up every morning wanting to get better is something that not everybody can maintain and keep having. I'm very thankful for Luke Kuechly for what he did on a football field, and what he did for the NFL was great things. I was very excited to watch him play every time he got on there. And I'm also very happy and thankful for him if he has found complete peace. In there, he said he still wanted to play, so there will always be that lure of, will Luke Kuechly come back? Will he miss the banging from training camp or the camaraderie with the guys, which I would assume is potentially going to happen. A lot of people are going to talk about that, just like Gronk alluded to when Gronk tweeted, so when are you coming back? Because as soon as Gronk retired, he had an emotional press conference about how beat up his body was and how happy he was to go forward, and all anybody kept saying was, oh, Gronk's coming back, Gronk's coming back, Gronk's coming back. Well, maybe just like me, maybe just like Gronk, maybe Luke Kuechly got to the point where he started thinking, you know what? I want to enjoy my life outside of football and focus on other things other than hitting people and dissecting offenses. And if that's the case, I'm incredibly happy for Luke Kuechly, and I hope he enjoys the hell out of his retirement.
Yeah, when I was watching, I thought he was going to pull a Wolf of Wall Street, like halfway through and be like, you know what? I'm not leaving.
It seemed like a minute 30 in, it seemed like there was quite a turn.
Yeah.
For the first minute, he was very calm, cool, collected. And then I think it was like a minute 30 in, he goes, I still want to play.
Yeah.
And it was like almost like that moment. And I even got emotional. I retired on Comedy Central to join Barstool, and it was Super Bowl week. But I typed up something from my Twitter, which is where basically any person that really, knew anything about me was through my Twitter. And while I was typing it up, I got emotional in the middle of it because the game of football is such an awesome one. Mm-hmm. Like Luke Kuechly said, I still want to be involved in football. You got a lot of people that even though they choose to retire early, doesn't mean they don't love football. It just means they want to spend their time potentially doing something else. And I would assume that Luke Kuechly will still remain around football. A guy that smart, we hope his brain is still utilized in the football world. He missed 7 games, I think, with 3 diagnosed concussions or something like that. You have to think that probably was a part of the conversation. But I'm happy for Luke hopefully finding solace. And it did feel like about halfway through that video that he was potentially just going to be like, turn the camera off. But good for him. I'm happy for him. And now he gives a chance to somebody else to step up and make a play. And just like the NFL has done since the beginning of time, it'll continue to grow and evolve. And Luke Kuechly now is going to experience life post-football, which I have found to be a damn good time.
I think that's what's so admirable, too, is like if you're just like an average NFL fan or watcher, like you would assume like this guy's still got it. He's still one of the best linebackers. So for him to like have the courage to be like, yeah, I'm not the player I used to be. I can't do that to my teammates. Like that's crazy. That's why it was so surprising to me.
Well, I think so a lot of people saw me tweet a lot, right? Whenever I was towards the end of my career, tweet. But every time I'd wake up, every decision I made, everything I did, I mean, I don't really drink much anymore. I didn't drink then. Every decision I made, I was like, is this going to make me kick a ball better? Mm-hmm. Like, is this going to make me kick a ball better? I almost felt like I was being, and this sounds, don't take this for how serious it could be, but it felt as if I was being held hostage by a profession, mm-hmm. right? And I was getting paid very, very well, very, very grossly overpaid for what I was doing. But every single decision I made was like, okay, is this going to make me kick a ball better? Is this going to make me go out onto a field after our offense fails and kick a ball better? Every single decision I made, even in June, even in April, even every single thing you did, every single day revolves around that. For me, whenever I retired, it was nice for my brain to just be able to think like, okay, I don't have to just focus in on this one job that deserves 100% of your attention, by the way. Being in the NFL deserves 100% of your attention. And I think that's the thing that I slowly realized as I got older and more mature. It was like the NFL is the best league on planet Earth. It deserves people to be 100% committed to it. And I no longer wanted to be 100% committed to kicking a ball, so I got out. I think Luke feels the same way. Like the NFL is a place for elite athletes. And even if he's being hard on himself, which I think Luke could probably still play for another 10 years. Luke Kuechly could hang on and play somewhere for another 10 years. Not even hang on. Luke Kuechly could thrive somewhere for another 10 years. But if he's gotten to the point where he's like, listen, this league deserves somebody that is at a better level than I am at right now. This league deserves somebody that wants to focus on this more than I do right now. I think that's admirable, and I'm very happy for him. Will we see Luke Kuechly back? That's the question everybody's going to ask. There's probably odds somewhere right now. I'm going to assume not because he's got a big brain. He was able to dissect plays. He went to Boston College, and I hope he's happy with that because in that video, it didn't feel as if he was all 100% all in on that retirement.
Now, if you look going forward, there's a chance Matt Rule comes in, and you're losing the three faces of the franchise for the last. You're going to lose Kuechly, probably Greg Olsen, high probability of retiring as well, and then Cam Newton could be out too. So it could be just a clean slate for the Carolina Panthers.
Carolina Panthers could be brand new, but they got 7 years to do it and 62 M's to do that with. They also got Joe Brady, offense coordinator, that led that LSU team to a national championship, flipped Joe Burrow from being a 16 quarterback throwing quarterback to a 60 touchdown throwing quarterback. Made Joe Burrow probably $40 million with Joe Brady. Now, I'm not saying that other guy, Ensminger, didn't do a lot of things, but it felt like Joe Brady was a large part of that. I thought his name was be up for a lot more jobs. Matt Rule got it right there. Now, are the Carolina Panthers going to make every move they possibly can to get up there and get Joe Burrow? Tua's healthy, they said, by April. Is everybody going to talk about Tua over Joe Burrow? It sounds like that's what sports people are talking about. If you can get Joe Burrow in your building, especially after watching him dance afterwards, you get Joe Burrow in your building. We got to get to a break to talk to an NFC South legend. Thomas Morstead of the New Orleans Saints joins us on the other side to talk about a lot of things. Drew Brees. He's good friends with Drew Brees. He's been on the Saints for 10 years with Drew. He's going to talk about the NFLPA and the NFLCBA because he's an NFLPA executive committee member. He'll talk about Luke Kuechly. He'll be able to talk about the NFC Championship because the punter, not only the most explosive and exciting player on the football team, he's also front row for a lot of things. And if you have any observation skills at all, you can only pick some things up and probably give great interviews or make a living off it. 13 minutes after the hour, this is the Pat McAfee Show. Thank you for listening. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here on Wednesday, January 15th in Indianapolis, Indiana. All the boys are with me, but joining us via FaceTime is the man that taught me how to punt from SMU. He's like 6'10", punts balls a mile. The punter for the New Orleans Saints, All-Pro, Thomas Morstead.
Pat, what's going on, brother?
How are you, man? You look so cool with your dress shirt on. I'm buttoned there. Are you in the middle of some meetings right now?
We're about to start this morning. I'm out in LA right now.
What is it for? Is it for NFLPA or are you doing media run right now?
Yep, NFLPA. We've got the collegiate bowls out here and just checking things out.
All right, before we get to the Saints, because you've been there for 10 years, steadfast, a guy who's been an All-Pro for the Saints, third disappointing loss for an incredible season. Before we talk to that, just because you're at the NFLPA stuff out there, the new CBA is up right now. There was conversations like a month and a half ago that a deal was going to be done early somehow, which I was very surprised about because there's billions of dollars at stake, and that could optically look bad for either side, whoever loses. How are those conversations going, and what are some differences that people are going to maybe learn about with this CBA coming out for the new one?
Well, I'm on the executive committee, so I can't really talk about any of that. We have had meetings. Your boy Vinatieri's on that as well, and it's an exciting time for sure. It's a different climate than it was 9 years ago for the old CBA. So hopefully we'll be able to make some moves in the right direction for that are going to help every player.
You say different climate. Does that mean it's been a lot more positive conversations as if we're business partners as opposed to going to war with each other, or is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I would say for sure that it's been amicable and that, it seems like it's in everybody's best interest to at least give it a shot, and so that's exciting.
Is the conversation behind closed doors, both by the NFLPA and the NFL, that the lockout is something that was not good for both sides?
I think that's an opinion that everybody has that's different. So I just think the climate right now is in a place that, I think there's a lot of positive reasons to at least have everybody intend to try to get something done. And, we'll kind of see how it shakes out. Okay,
perfect. Let's get back to the football now. New Orleans Saints have another incredible year. Home playoff loss happens yet again. I mean, when I say heartbroken, I mean heartbroken for Saints and Saints fans and you as a friend. First, the Minneapolis Miracle obviously happens. You end up lining up at D tackle for an extra point after that. You looked great there. Then there's the phantom pass interference, and then there's this overtime loss where Drew Brees doesn't even get a chance to get back on the field, which obviously spurs a lot of conversation. What is the state of the New Orleans Saints in your mind? Because every year you guys have this incredible team, and then you're just so close to making another run like you did beating us for the Super Bowl. What is the state of the New Orleans Saints, you think?
I would say it's outstanding. I think New Orleans 15, 20 years ago was not seen as an elite organization, maybe a bit of a laughingstock. And I think with Drew and Sean and Mickey Loomis, our GM, there's just been such an incredible level of stability and sustained excellence. And, it doesn't make it easy to ever lose in the playoffs because, those opportunities they're not guaranteed. But as far as the organization goes, man, it's just so stable. I think they do things right from the top down, and that gives you a chance every year.
I'm really happy that you're just incredible onside kick at halftime that buried our Super Bowl is what could really kick off this entire run for the Saints. There was a entire article written about ambush and how impressive of an onside kick that was. And I said, for you to be a rookie, to be able to pull that kick off on the grandest, the biggest stage that there possibly could be with so much precision and everything like that, it would probably the most impressive kick I've ever seen. Literally the most impressive kick I've ever seen, I think.
Well, I appreciate it. I was just glad we weren't wearing white pants that day.
You think Drew Brees has more in the tank, or everybody? The conversation about Drew Brees has always been he's trying to get another one. You get close, he's trying to get another one. You get close, he's trying to get another one. He wasn't on the NFL All 100 team. It was complete farce. He has every record you could possibly have. He has a Super Bowl ring. Do you see Drew Brees having more in the tank and coming back for another run at this thing?
Yeah, look, I can't see him not being back next year. He loves the game so much, and he loves this team. And at the end of the day, he's a competitor, and he just wants to go after it. And every time he doesn't get an accolade that he deserves or that I think he deserves, it's good for him, man. He plays best with a chip on his shoulder. He's done that his whole life. And so I kind of, it's always a good thing whenever he's a little underappreciated, because I think he takes things personal, and he's competitive, and he loves to win. And I'd expect him back next year.
Thomas, it feels like a lot of the greats operate that way. Aaron Rodgers, everybody, now he'll never say it, but everybody around him says that. I operate that way. I'm not saying I'm Aaron Rodgers, but professional athletes, I feel like people think aren't as petty as they are. But anytime you have a chance to feel slighted, it's a great way to use as motivation. I'm happy to hear that Drew Brees, arguably best quarterback of all time, if they're at least in a conversation top 3, top 4 of all time, feels that same way as well.
Yeah, look, I think you can call it petty. I wouldn't describe Drew that way, but I think another word maybe is some of the best athletes I've been around. They get salty kind of quick, and so our kicker Will Lutz is like that. I would joke with him all the time. He kind of gets a little sensitive about things, but he takes it personal, and that's why he's so good. He's just a machine,
Are you that way? I feel like you're not that way. I feel like you're a guy who is just like a consummate professional. I am very much. I guess a better way for me to describe it would be me being salty as opposed to me being petty. But if I heard somebody say something like back, for instance, Thomas, in your and I world, if you and I were 18 years old right now with all these Australians coming over and punting, like when I was 18, I would have wanted to get on a plane and go to Australia and punt against every single one of them, just because of the.
Let me tell you, don't even get me started about this. I got such a major problem with these guys that they're not professional. They've never played pro football, but they're basically professionals over there. And a lot of 18, 17-year-olds are losing out on scholarship opportunities right now in the NCAA because of these, 25, 26, 28, 40-year-old players. And, look, there's some great players that have come over from Australia. So I'm not saying that guys shouldn't have opportunities, but I think it's a real shame that a lot of 17-year-old kids are not getting the opportunity to go to college that otherwise would have had an opportunity. It's a tough deal for sure.
I agree. It's so intriguing because you would hope that America and the NCAA could be an opportunity for people to get another opportunity. But that guy who was punting for LSU was 29 years old. I mean, he was a 29-year-old guy punting. That 3 years younger than me. I retired at 29. It was very interesting this year learning about it. And I don't exactly know how to feel because it's like, hey, if you get a chance to get a world-class education and a chance to maybe have another career, good on you. But, man, these 17, 18-year-old kids here who haven't got a chance to fully develop are competing against adults for these positions, and there's not a lot of scholarships out there. It's an interesting little storyline happening in college football right now.
Yeah, look, I think it's, the original intent of the rule, I think, is it's gone around it, so it's kind of frustrating to see. It's obviously every situation's different, and we've seen guys come into the NFL that are Australian or other nationalities that deserve to be there, right? So I'm not taking away from that. I just think there needs to be a change in. They need to really look at that. I think it's tough if a guy's already been an Aussie rules professional for 8 years and then comes over and is stealing a scholarship from a kid. I kind of have a problem with that.
Yeah, I think they should maybe just go to the NFL.
And there you go. Hey, go try
XFL.
And get in. There's guys that have done that.
XFL, NFL, CFL, something along those lines. And if you're, maybe there should be an age, like, hey, if you're 25 or below, maybe, or 20, you know what I mean? Now these 30-year-olds that I've met that are punting, like UCLA's guy, I think is like 32 or something like that. They're very nice guys. Like, I am not saying they're not nice guys, but you're competing against these kids who barely hit puberty yet. And it's a very interesting thing.
It's tough to look at a 30-year-old grown man and a 17-year-old kid who you're betting on potential and not say, well, not only is this guy physically, we know what we have, but this guy's lived life. He's had a few beers. We know he's not going to, go off the rails here because he's had life experience. And it's just a really unfair playing surface,
I would have never got a scholarship if it was happening. Oh, this little wild lunatic right here with a massive leg, but he has no idea where it's going. Or this guy who's been a professional already from Australia and has a family. Let's go with the guy who already has a kid and has to take care of himself. So that is interesting. That has been the biggest difference I've noticed going in. That is something you do, though. You give back to the punting community and kicking community more than any other punter I've ever seen. You taught me how to punt. You've taught a lot of the guys in the NFL currently how to punt. I think you should get a lot more credit for that than you do, by the way.
Look, I don't do it for credit. I've always kind of had this life philosophy: what you give will grow, and what you keep, you lose. And whenever some people are like, "Hey, man, you're training guys to take your job," I just feel like whenever it's time to be done, it'll be time to be done, and you're meant to share with what you have. And honestly, I'll never forget those 2 days we spent right after you got drafted up in Wisconsin. That was good times for sure.
Thomas, all right. Will you just tell me how to punt? Hey, listen, I just got drafted to punt. I understand I have a little bit of an ability, but to make a paycheck here, I'm going to have to be a little bit better. Is there any way you could tell me how to punt? And for 2 days, to your credit, you 1,000% did. And then fast forward, we're in the Super Bowl together. And now, I mean, I was second guessing myself at that point. Well, the punter of the decade thing comes out, right? You're number 2. I'm number 1. I think that's wrong. I don't think I should have got it. I think you should have been it. But that is something.
Hey, the numbers don't lie, Pat. Numbers don't lie. And I love PFF. They've been I negotiated my last contract with all their data. So, the numbers don't lie, and you deserve that, man. You all you did your whole career was get better.
That means a lot. And all I did was learn from you. Let's talk about people getting better. Okay, that Niners team, they got better. Last year, they stunk because Jimmy G decided to zig instead of zag. You played in a game against them that was must-see television. Now, they are hosting a playoff game against Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers in the NFC Championship. How do you see that one going, and who do you give the edge to, Thomas?
Well, look, I think the stats say the home team has got the edge. I think it's a little bit of a mind F a little bit with how the original game went early in the season with the Packers getting smoked. I think that can be a tough deal for San Fran. I think it's hard to beat a really good team twice, and they beat them so handily. And so, I think the Packers will obviously figure out a lot of adjustments to make. And I think special teams could be huge. J.K. Scott being out in San Francisco where it's nice weather typically. That guy is special, man. He is special. He can be a game changer for them for sure.
I don't know how you guys punt and not leave the ground.
Hey, man, you're an athlete and I'm not, so I had to find a different way.
We're talking about J.K. Scott for punting insider. J.K. Scott, when he punts, you see his plant foot never leaves the ground. It's always right leg. Thomas does the same.
I got another piece for you on J.K. that I've never seen before. There's typically a little airtime between your drive step and your plant. He almost has both feet on the ground at the same time. I've never seen that before. If you go watch that.
Is that why he was so consistent? Because that little airtime there can make your stride a little bit different.
Yeah, there's no airtime, and his legs are he's like a giraffe out there. It's amazing watching him punt.
Well, so I've been corrected. He does not do yoga. He does Pilates, which is what you do too. So you two are the same exact human being, basically.
Absolutely.
All right.
That's for non-athletes, like I said.
Thomas, you're a freak athlete. I appreciate you. So, Luke Kuechly retires. Okay, hold on. NFLPA member, NFC South member, a guy who you sent me a photo of you and Luke Kuechly having an interaction. I have no idea when. Was that a blocked field goal?
Yeah, we had a blocked field goal, and I thought I'd be able to I was able to kind of get to him, and then he decided, I think he slowed up at the end just so he could embarrass me. It was definitely my most embarrassing moment as a professional athlete.
Yeah, you got Earl Thomas there, like Derrick Henry did. I'm looking at a photo for those that are listening on radio. Thomas, you've been in the league now 10 years. You're 30-plus years old. You've seen a lot of players come and go. Andrew Luck retires young. Everybody talks about it. Gronk retires young. Now Luke Kuechly is retiring before the age of 30. Do you see this being something that is going to continue to happen as players continue to realize that there's opportunities off the field and maybe it's time to give somebody else another chance? I've accrued enough money. Or what do you think it is? Or do you think this is just kind of like a case-by-case basis?
Look, I think, look, the money's in a different realm than it's ever been, and it's only continuing to go up. And I think you're going to see players that play positions that are physically very difficult to play. Those guys that you just listed, a lot of those guys have gotten beat up a lot, whether it's concussions or just getting, Gronk, he's just getting everybody's best shot every time he caught the ball because he's so dang big. And Andrew got, waylaid for years up in Indy. And I just, you're going to see guys that are going to start looking around and they're going to say, look, I'm healthy right now. And I've still got my wits about me. I've got a ton of money in the bank. What's it worth? And you're going to see that. I think the common thing you see, there's a lot of smart guys you just listed, right? They're going to be thinking about things like that, and it's only human nature to think like that. It's different when you got no money in the bank account. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that continue.
Completely agree. You're a very intelligent man as well. I hope you punt till the wheels fall off, though, because you're a lot of fun. What's this juice company you're now investor owner, a part of? I mean, good for you getting in business.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Main Squeeze Juice Company. It's a franchising company down in Louisiana, based in New Orleans. And I actually got into it or interested in it because Marcus Colston was their initial investor. Mm-hmm. And they're, I started checking my credit card statement every month, and I said, okay, I need to find a deal or something here because I'm spending way too much money at this place. And so I got in touch with those guys and got to meet their team, and they're expanding very rapidly, taking over Houston now, and now we're expanding in Dallas and getting into Florida. We're trying to take over the Southeast as quick as possible. It's a race to real estate, and, it's just a big passion of mine, health, wellness, and being able to provide value, information, and how certain things have helped me prolong my career or try to continue to get better in my career. Passing those along to people that follow me is kind of a passion of mine. And so, New Orleans isn't exactly known as the health capital of the world. So, it's something I'm passionate about, and it's exciting to be a part of.
Well, I appreciate you so much for joining us. Good luck with Main Squeeze. What you give will grow is also awesome. You grow your hair out, and then you cut it and donate it. I mean, you're a man amongst men. I appreciate the hell out of you. Good luck in those negotiations with the NFL, and congrats on continuing to be able to just slaughter footballs.
You man, Pat. Thanks for having me on, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, All-Pro Super Bowl champion Thomas Brooks. Thank you, Thomas.
Thanks, guys.
He taught me how to punt. That was a hilarious day.
Nice guy.
Very nice guy. Completely different human than me. Completely. I think he has like an engineering degree from SMU, like very, very intelligent, super tall. His legs come up to like my boobs. Everything is different. It's a very different world between he and I. But he's one of those guys that's legit. Like he's legit. Like you can ask him a question, he'll give you real answers. In his professional sports world, that's not always going to happen. You see it with backups getting drafted and then the starter not taking care of them because you are literally giving the keys to the estate to somebody that's potentially going to knock you out of your house, literally. And Thomas Morstead was a kid and a guy at this time, I guess, but a kid at then. I was like, man, I don't know why they drafted me to do this. Bill Belichick literally told me, we think you're athletic enough to figure it out. I'm like, I need to figure it out, Thomas. He was like, let's go. And we did we took 2 hours on the field. Then we went and watched film. And then the next day, the same thing. And just, punter of the decade. That's sometimes things that happen. We got to get to a break because on the other side, we have Gold Glove Award winner. Is that right?
Yeah, Gold Glove winner.
So you don't have to say award at the end?
No.
Zito, we got to edit that.
Yep.
Obviously, I'm a professional baseball player myself.
Yeah, right.
The integrity of the game has been in question now because of this guy named Alex Cora, who formerly of the Boston
Formerly.
Massachusetts,
Which is in New England.
Red Sox manager, is now enthralled in the middle of a controversy about stealing signs. And the integrity of baseball is on the line. Is baseball dead? We'll have a Gold Glove winner on the other side, Tucker Barnhart from the Cincinnati Reds. Can't wait to talk to him and get his opinion. And we're excited you're listening. Thankful you're listening. This is the Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show, 42 minutes after the hour. Massive baseball scandal happening right now with signs being stolen via videotaping and cameras and bats and garbage cans and yelling and whistles and all this stuff. And I only played baseball one time in my life. It was professionally. So anytime I have a question about baseball and its ethics and rules, I call a guy who's a friend of mine, Indiana-based guy, Cincinnati Reds, Gold Glove winning catcher, Tucker Handsome Barnhart. Tucker!
What's going on, man?
Hey, happy to see rehab's going well, by the way. You posted a video of you hitting the hell out of a baseball off a tee. Happy to see it.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Feel good.
How are you? What happened? What did you hurt?
I came back at the end of the year, so I finished the year healthy, but I thought you had to have abs to pull them. But I pulled an ab and an oblique. But I finished the year healthy, so everything was good. But it hurt like hell, that's for sure.
I could have fathomed. I'm excited to see you back. Obviously, we are Reds fans here. Last year was tough. You guys gave us nothing to cheer for. I assume this year will be different, Tucker. I assume this year.
Yeah, we've made a lot of acquisitions this offseason that have proven to be that are going to help us.
Is that real? Is that real?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's real. We signed a couple guys. Signed a guy straight out of Japan who was a 5-time All-Star over there. Signed a guy named Mike Mustakis who's really going to help us out.
Let's go, Reds!
Yeah, we're going to win a lot of games.
Okay, good. All right, good. So let's get past that. Last time I talked with you, you said something in our conversation about the baseballs being a little bit easier to hit, it feels like. That made waves, and then now everybody's talking about it. That was like a couple years ago. Now, whenever I have a question about anything in this world, you're like a generational baseball player. Your dad, I think, is you've lived in this world. So now, Alex Cora is this guy who is formerly of the Boston Red Sox, and Boston just so happens to be attached to this. I don't know why, with everything like that. He was at the Astros. Whenever he was the bench coach, the assistant coach of the Astros broke basically every single hitting record that you could possibly break at home. He gets a job. They win a World Series. He gets a job at Boston. They do the same thing up there. Then all of a sudden a pitcher comes out and says, oh, they're recording it. A podcaster says it. Is this something that is understood that happens, or is this like, what is your take on this as a guy who's a catcher and your exact fingers are probably on some of these cameras out there? What is this in the state of the game?
Well, for me, it's been happening forever. I think sign stealing, looking for tells. I mean, it happens in every sport. You playing in the NFL, I'm sure you watch film,
Yep.
Obviously. I mean, you watch film, you see guys on the quarterbacks on the sideline looking at iPads, seeing pictures, like real-time pictures. It happens in every sport. And so I kind of don't understand it. And my worry is baseball has all these unwritten rules. You hear guys say, well, he's not supposed to do that. Well, it's not by the letter of the law. It's not a rule necessarily. And so, like, in preparation for this article or for this interview, I did a little research and I read a couple articles, and nowhere that I found was anything that was being done at that time. It wasn't necessarily against any rules. Was it frowned upon? Maybe. However, from a catcher's perspective, we do things from inning to inning. We change signs. You set up later before the pitch is getting ready to be thrown to you to combat that. So anytime like a guy's on second base, you have a sign sequence. It's as intricate as a one, which normally means fastball, doesn't mean a fastball, and then you sequence it in a number of signs to try and hide it. Things like that. I mean, you do things to combat those things. You look for tells from the other team that make it appear like they're giving signs to their hitters. That it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Are you saying you think this is kind of getting blown out of proportion, and this is something that you as a catcher who is the person whose signals are being signed basically understands that there is the potential of this happening, and it's your job, it's on you and the pitcher to make sure that this doesn't benefit the other team?
No question. No question. I think I would be willing to bet that when Mike Fiers said what he said, that he didn't think it would get to where it's at now. I mean, guys are losing their jobs. Guys are potentially getting blackballed from baseball with all of this stuff that's gone on. And if it's pretty black and white for me, if they were breaking a rule, I get it. If they were breaking an unwritten rule, I don't understand it. Because I mean, in any walk of life, you look for an advantage. I have a unique position because I'm in a situation as being a catcher that I do things to combat sign stealing, but also from a hitter's perspective, I would love to know what's coming. I mean, it makes my job a hell of a lot easier to hit if I know what pitch is coming. And so if a pitcher is blatantly giving me, if he's in the windup and it's as blatant as his hands go over his head when he throws a fastball and his hands don't go over his head when he throws a breaking ball, I'm going to take advantage of that. And so is everybody else that's on our team. So that to me is what I don't get. I don't get that if a guy was showing that he was throwing a changeup and I mean, it's been happening forever. If you played Little League.
I have a question. I think people are assuming because now, is this something you're going to have to change, knowing that there is a chance that there is a camera? Now, they said, now, I don't know enough about baseball to really ask the right questions here, but they said there was a camera being shot from center field at the catcher. They would then go into a room to see what the catcher was doing, and then they would bang on garbage cans and whistle and stuff for what the pitcher is doing. As a catcher, now, I've never played catcher. I've only played right field professionally. But if I was a catcher and I heard this type of stuff happening, isn't that something that would also maybe tip you off like, oh, they're giving a little bit of this or they're giving a little bit of that or something like that? And is the fact that they had a live feed going on is what they're blowing up about, or is that something that maybe you know is happening?
They are. The live feed is the issue, I believe. However, the rule of not being able to have, I think they changed where you can have cameras. They changed that going into last season. And so all of this was happening. It happened in 2017 when there wasn't a rule where you could or couldn't have cameras.
Oh, God.
So for me, it's a little, it's really kind of, it's odd to me. I don't, again, I've said it 100 times. I don't get it.
You hate it.
I do. I think it sucks. I really do. I think it sucks because a guy outed his teammates that he benefited from. I just think I think it sucks.
Imagine if you're a catcher, though, and you hear an entire dugout like, and you're just sitting there, you're like, what is that? Are you guys... Excuse me. I think there is something going on. That's the thing about baseball, though, that I think a lot of people appreciate, especially baseball fans, is like the game, right? Like there's a game inside of a game that's happening, whether it's the umpire's strike zone, whether it's like a little bit of more grip on the thing or the ball or anything like that. There's always like these little games inside of baseball when a lot of people from a 30,000-foot view, you see, you're like, oh, okay, it's pitcher versus batter, and then there's 9 innings. But there's all these little things trying to get this little advantage in these 197,000 games that you have. It's almost like a part of the sport. Is that what you're saying? As opposed to these unwritten rules being broken, it's almost like these types of things are a part of the sport, and it's what makes the sport even better.
I agree. It's things that have been happening for 50 years. I mean, it's just guys like I played with some guys that played with the Dodgers, with Chase Utley on the Dodgers towards the end of his career. And our hitting coach said last year that Chase's job when he wasn't playing, he would just look for the pitcher to see if he could pick up anything to decipher what pitch was coming. I mean, that was just basically his job with the Dodgers, like I said, when he wasn't playing. So it's just things like that. And he had gotten that from guys that he had played with coming up through the minor leagues and early on in his career in Philadelphia. And it's something that's gone on forever. Now, again, if they were breaking a rule, if there was something in place that said the live feed couldn't be directly to a camera in the video room or in the batting cage or anything like that, then I completely understand it. But, however, if there was no rule in place about the live feed, like you said, or anything like that, then I just don't understand it.
All right. Well, that's my opinion from here on out, though. You have a question, Todd?
Yeah, I do. And I agree with what you're saying, Tucker, too, about like the unwritten rules and this stuff going on. But like, does it change your mind at all when you see like Houston's home and away splits, like the stats? Like they were basically unbeatable at home at points during the postseason. I mean, like they're batting average, and I get home field advantage being something that's very real, but they're batting like 80 points higher, a lot more homers, a lot more extra base hits, scoring a lot more runs. Like, does that change your opinion on it at all?
It doesn't necessarily change my opinion on it. I think like from like a catcher standpoint and from like a scouting report standpoint, we look at things like that. And so everybody knows who are the teams that give signs, whether it be first base coach or third base coach does something that the hitter can see, or if it's a runner on second base giving a location to a hitter or things like that, or your pitchers that get in trouble and tip their pitches sometimes, and so it's just something you have to take extra precautions. I mean, and it's pretty obvious now thinking back, like Brian McCann when he was catching for the Astros in 17 in the World Series, everybody was talking about how many visits they made to the mound. They hated it. They hated it. But he was going, and every time he would go, he was going to combat the other team from stealing signs, and they would change up the signs and do things like that. I mean, there are things now that happen. The Cardinals come to mind. They have a card in their back pocket that Yadier Molina will go like this behind the plate, and he'll hold up like a number 2, number 5, number 4, whatever it is, and the pitcher will pull a card out of his back pocket, look at the card, sign sequence number 4, and they change the signs, and it's crazy.
It's like a football. It's like a quarterback with the arm sleeve.
It is, and it's just there's things done now to combat that, and so it doesn't necessarily, to answer your question, it doesn't necessarily change my mind. It just makes it more obvious that they were able to do something at home. They were able to give signs, and again, to me, it's very black and white. If it was against the rules, then I hate it. But if it was just a competitive advantage that they were using, or an unwritten rule, then I think it's just part of the game.
Gold Glove winner, starting catcher for the Cincinnati Reds, coming off of rehab. Reds are going to be good this year. Excited for that. Indiana native and legend. I appreciate you, Tucker Barnhart.
You got it, Pat. Thanks, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, Valentine's Day is right around the corner. Right around the corner, and the time is now to take care of your lady. Valentine's Day is an effort holiday. Show that you care. Here's how you can show that you care. You go to IHateStevensinger.com and you buy your lady some 24-karat gold-dipped rose. Woo! Basic-ass flowers die in a week. Basic-ass flowers don't say that you truly love them. It says that you got this gift last minute. What you can do right now at I Hate Steven Singer from Steven Singer Jewelers is you can buy 24-karat dipped roses and say, hey, lady, I love you. I prepared. And you get free shipping both ways for Steven Singer. IHateStevensinger.com, taking care of you for taking care of your lady this holiday season. They have gold, they have black, they have red. I mean, it is a beautiful collection. I got some for Sam. Spoiler. And I think you should get some for your lady. Shout out to Steven Singer Jewelers, the best jewelers on planet Earth, and taking care of you this Valentine's Day. Shout out to Tucker Barnhart joining us. Shout out to Thomas Morstead. We got Jeff Garcia in the second hour. I mean, let's go. Let's have a Wednesday, January 15th. This is the Pat McAfee Show.
inspiration from the heart of the nation. Not your medication, 2 hours of magic. Let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
Yes, it is, Chase Rice. I appreciate you, handsome son of a bitch. I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana with all the boys. Boston Connor Campbell sitting on the casting couch. Has to be a pretty good morning for you thus far with that first hour and what you've seen on the internet.
Tom Brady's throwing footballs in a Patriots helmet on Instagram. The Red Sox are in the clear. They didn't do anything wrong, it sounds like. Feel great.
Great Wednesday, January 15th for you. He's saying the Red Sox are in the clear. They didn't do anything wrong. From what we just learned in the last conversation we had started 20 minutes ago and just wrapped up a few minutes ago. Tucker Barnhart, Gold Glove award-winning catcher from the Cincinnati Reds, says he doesn't see what the big deal is here. Yeah, they were streaming it live, but it wasn't an official rule. It was an unwritten rule. And his job as a catcher is to make sure that nobody's catching on to what the signs are either. It sure sounds like he thinks it's a bunch of malarkey and doesn't think it's that big of a deal. You got a lot of people getting fired over it. You got legacies potentially being ruined for it. And the Red Sox are going to have to start all over again after having to fire the manager that was behind the live stream webcam that was happening out in center field, if I'm accurate.
And no one's brought up that for the Astros and Red Sox winning a World Series and have a couple guys fired, worth it.
By the way, that's at Tone Diggs rocking a sport coat with a hoodie attached. Looks damn good today.
Thank you.
High fashion out of Tone Diggs. On the ones and twos, playing hack music, typing vigorously into his computer. That's at Nick Moraldo, at Ty Schmidt. Jason McAfee still not on vacation. Appreciate it. At Viva Lazito. At Evan Fox, he looks like a damn rock star this morning. At Todd McComas is on the phones, 1-833-622-3331. Luke Kuechly shocked the football world last night by retiring via a social media video for the Carolina Panthers. I assume Matt Rule also shocked by this discovery. I think Matt Rule, who was hired as the Carolina Panthers head coach, gets a 7-year, $62 million gig. I assume that he thought he had a lot of decisions that had to be made on the offensive side of the ball. And as of last night, after 8 seasons in the NFL, the 28-year-old Luke Kuechly, stud linebacker, calls it quits from the NFL, stating to the fact that although he still wishes he could still play and still wants to play, he doesn't think he still has what he once had. Once again, he's coming off another Pro Bowl season. And I asked Thomas Morstead in the first hour, who's a part of the NFLPA Executive Committee, if this is something that you're going to see more of. Now, I don't want to say that I started this train because people retired young long ago. And most of the time, that was retiring from the Detroit Lions franchise. But this is something that is happening. Barry Sanders retires. Calvin Johnson retires. Patrick Willis retires. I retire. Andrew Luck retires. Gronk retires. Now Luke Kuechly retires. You got a lot of people retiring under the age of 30, whenever the old mindset was if you get in the NFL, you hang on to that job for as long as you possibly can. Doesn't matter if you can't spell your name by the end of the whole thing. It doesn't matter if you can't walk properly. It doesn't matter if you can't play catch with your kids at the end of it. If you have a chance to be in the NFL, this dream league, the best league of all time, you hang on to that job for as long as you possibly can. And if you don't, you're a buffoon. But nowadays, with the way salaries are and with the way money is and with the stats and analytics of the future of a lot of these players, I think you're going to start seeing more and more players say, hey, there's a lot of money in the world to be made outside of football. There's a lot of things I can spend my time focusing on rather than just football. And although we love football, I am a diehard football fan. Just because I retired young does not mean that I am not a diehard football fan. For me, it just meant that I wanted to spend my time focusing on other things. I assume the same thing for Luke Kuechly. Once he noticed that he probably didn't have it as much as he had it in years past, he didn't want to be the guy that hung on too long and his legacy was ruined. Instead, he will forever be remembered as the guy who was an absolute gentleman on and off the field, a guy that was able to decipher any type of offense, was able to call out plays before the quarterback was calling out plays because of how well read he was and how prepared he was in film study, but also a man who could make every single play. He could go sideline to sideline. He could blow somebody up. He had great hands. He was crafty. He was more athletic than you think. He was a coach's kid, had a high motor, had a high football IQ, was first one in, last one out, and all those incredible things. And his career was one that's going to land him in the Hall of Fame, and I'm happy for him if he's happy. And it felt like he was for about the first minute 30 of that retirement video. Then he got choked up, which is always going to happen because football gave him and gave a lot of other people an incredible life, incredible opportunity, incredible experiences and stories and brotherhood and all that. But for me, I think Luke Kuechly is going to be very excited about this decision about next August, next September, when he doesn't have to go to training camp, whenever he can maybe utilize his business marketing degree from the incredible school of Boston College to focus on other things. I'm happy for Luke Kuechly, and I think he's going to do great things in this world. And I think what he contributed to the NFL, we should all be very thankful.
You bring up not next August, next September. And I just want to commemorate you and Gronk and Luke and Patrick Willis and the guys who did it before the draft and didn't wait till training camp to retire on your team.
Go on.
What do you mean?
Go on.
No, it's nice when player, unlike Andrew Luck, who waited.
Tone. Blazer
Tony.
Tone.
That's Hoodie Blazer Tone. Hoodie Blazer Tone.
It's nice. It was much better to do it now. Let the team know.
I agree.
Matt Rule, poor Matt Rule. Not literally, but
But you're right, though. Matt Rule now signs Joe Brady as offense coordinator, who I thought would get a lot more looks, because the trend, Cliff Kingsbury gets a gig, Matt LaFleur gets a gig, Sean McVay gets a gig. These young, brilliant, offensive-minded guys from whether college or the NFL are getting these head coaching gigs. Joe Brady, who made Joe Burrow the most impressive quarterback in the history of college football. That is not just saying like, hey, this Joe Burrow guy is the most impressive I've ever seen. No, that's real. Highest completion percentage, most touchdowns, most effective offense in the SEC history. I mean, this Joe Brady guy single-handedly came in and earned Joe Burrow $40 million. I mean, it's just, and you would think with the world and the way the NFL is that you would want this, because they ran a little RPO as well. The way the NFL is trending, you would have thought that Joe Brady would have gotten a lot more looks than he was. His name wasn't even mentioned for things. And I think Matt Rule was sitting back looking at this whole thing. He was like, Cleveland Browns aren't even going to interview this guy. Giants aren't even going to talk to this guy. They're not even, Cowboys aren't even going to look at this guy. He's like, that sounds good to me. 30-year-old guy who just flipped the SEC on its freaking head. I'll bring him into Carolina, which I think does mean, by the way, that they're probably going to get a new quarterback. I think he might be able to do some real good things with Cam Newton. I mean, that is a decision that's going to have to be made, and I don't think they're all out on Cam Newton, but I do know that if they do release Cam Newton, they get $19 million more for a team that looks like they're going to have 7 years and a patient owner to build however you want to build. Cam Newton can play for another 7 years. Is he the guy of the future? I don't know. We're going to find out. I think this Joe Brady hire was a good one, but now Matt Rule has to figure out who's going to be the leader of his defense. How do you replace a consummate all-pro? How do you replace a perennial Pro Bowler who not only is fast and freakish physically, but mentally the guy can line everybody up and he can tell exactly what it is? That's going to be tough for Matt Rule. He's got a lot of money and a lot of tasks in front of him. Christian McCaffrey is really the only constant that he has.
When do you think Matt Rule, do you think he had any inkling of this when he first got the job, or is this the kind of thing where like he would have found out yesterday that Luke Kuechly was retiring?
I have no idea. I have no clue how that goes. The fact that Luke Kuechly did it the way he did it was very surprising to me too, because Luke Kuechly is a guy that does not love being on a camera. We got a chance to do some stuff with him at the last Super Bowl. And by the way, he's just as impressive off the field as he is on the field. Gentleman. It's like a Clark Kent feel almost. Like he goes into the phone booth, he gets on a football field, bang, it's over, and then he comes off and it's like, hey, how you doing? How you doing? Boston College degree, how's it going? I'm very smart, very nice. And that's exactly what he was. Very nice guy. I think he listed off every single player in the NFC South or something for us.
Yeah, he did.
Like every starter.
Starters both ways.
Yeah, in the NFC South when we were with him. I mean, he's just this super brainiac that I did not expect to come through a social media video, his retirement. I respect that he did, by the way, because he got to control his own narrative. He got a chance to go on his own terms, do it his own way. But I'm not sure. I assume Matt Rule learned within the last day or so. But if you tell Matt Rule, you assume somebody else in the room will know, and then they leak it. This was not leaked by anybody. Schefter, all the people who know everything were surprised by this video, which is why I'm so impressed by it. I think Matt Rule probably learned about it just within the last 24 hours.
Yeah, and he's definitely disappointed because even if Kuechly admits that he's lost a step or he's not the same player that he was, he still makes up with that by getting every single other player on that defense in the right place and making the right checks. And he's smart enough that even if he has lost a step, it doesn't matter because he knows where the ball's going most of the time.
In all those NFL top 100 videos, you hear other players talk about other players. I did it like 6 days after a surgery one time, and I was on like 45 to 50 painkillers. And I didn't remember any of it until it aired, and I was like, oh, I slaughtered on there. I was really good. But listening to the players talk about Luke Kuechly, you listen to other offensive linemen talk about playing against Luke Kuechly, and they all say, like, we're in our set, and this guy's telling us basically what our check is about to be. And we're like, how do you know that we're not doing that? And then the conversation, Luke would like look at him and be like, yeah, you are. That's just the type of player he was, right? And he said he wanted to be known as a guy who was like physical, fast, and tough, I believe. But I think his biggest thing was he was smarter than everybody. So those are the 4 contributing factors, and I would assume all 4 of those are things that he would like to keep intact. He said he didn't have it as much as he thought he once did, and he said that linebacker room is a good one. I feel like he almost felt bad for taking the spot of somebody else whenever he wasn't at his 100% that he might have been a couple years ago. But his 90% or whatever he thinks he is at right now is still top 5% in all of defensive players, which I think the NFL and NFL fans should be very thankful that we got to see Luke Kuechly. I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed that we won't see more of him. But if he's happy, I'm happy. And he's accrued over $50 million in his career. He has a big old brain. And if he can utilize that to focus on something other than dissecting offenses and working out and running his head into people, I think we should be very happy for him.
He felt like one of those guys, like a Ray Lewis type, who could have played like 15 to 20 years if he wanted to. Like even when the athletics, like you mentioned, die down a little bit, the brain, the headsiness, and the football IQ is going to keep him in the game forever.
I agree. And if you, like Gary Brackett, for instance, Gary Brackett for the Indianapolis Colts, Super Bowl champion. If you ever meet him, he looks as if he was like my uncle if I was black, right? Like he's 5'10". He's kind of like, he's not built like this middle linebacker should be, but he was smarter than everybody. He was just smarter than everybody. He knew exactly where the ball was going, and he was tough. He was willing to throw himself into every single situation. At that linebacker position, if you're smart, normally you're going to do very well. You're the quarterback of the defense. Luke Kuechly was just that. I would assume a lot of the stats and analytics about the concussions and his future and everything definitely played a role. He's missed 7 games, I think, due to concussions. He's had 3 documented concussions, let alone the ones that aren't documented. So I assume that goes into play. Also, the thought that he probably feels as if he could, his mind probably thought he could do something that he couldn't do physically anymore, right? That's like if I go to the YMCA right now to go play basketball, and there's like a chance to take the lane and like do like something I used to be able to do and like fly and do like a finger roll. And I try to do that and my legs are just like, nah, dog, you ain't doing that. Like that's the difference between your mind and your body. I assume something happened this season, maybe towards the end of the season, where Luke Kuechly tried to do something and his body just couldn't do it anymore. And then that might be where the self-doubt started creeping in, where he's like, you know what, you just aren't what you used to be. You aren't what you used to be. You've made a lot of money. You've set yourself up very well. You have a hell of a legacy. You're going to be in the Hall of Fame. Maybe it's time to focus on something else and give somebody else an opportunity to do what you've been very lucky to do. I think that might have happened, but until we hear more from him, we can't be 100% sure.
Do you think this is potentially Marshawn's fault? Like Luke was on the edge, and then Marshawn was like, take care of your chicken and your mentals, and Luke was like, oh, you're right.
By the way, chicken is money.
Mm-hmm. Really? Oh.
What do you think? Children?
I don't know. I couldn't figure it out.
Take care of your chicken?
Take care of your meat.
Baby chicks? Yeah.
Yeah, Diggs.
That would have been children. Yeah.
Take care of your mentals. Take care of your chicken. And he got, by the way, Marshawn, old whites, classic old whites, said that he was, speaking ridiculous or whatever. If you listen to what he was saying, it's one of the smartest things that an ex-player has said. Yeah. He's like, listen, I've been on the other side. We got people that are losing their lives. Like what Marshawn did was very noble up there. Now, granted, he did it strictly because he didn't want to talk to any of the humans that were bashing him for what he was saying, which I respect even more. But it is real. Like I think a lot of us, and I'm even feeling this more and more, trying to work deals for NFLPA and NFL alums. Like I am active right now in trying to make sure we can get some money from companies for NFL alumni, for other people to continue to make money, because I'm not 100% sure that the NFLPA does what they probably should do, which is take care of, the legends of the game, the people that built the game. And now I am somebody who is not saying like, oh, back in the day, those guys did. They did, though. And a lot of those guys haven't been taken care of. So whenever Marshawn steps up and he says, listen, A lot of these players weren't taught how to manage millions of dollars. A lot of people weren't taught, like, hey, whenever you get $100,000, all those things you've dreamed of owning in your entire life that you can now afford, a lot of people weren't taught that discipline with their finances. So whenever you hear the stat, like 80% of NFL players or 80% of professional athletes will go broke just a couple years after they retire, and everybody's like, oh, idiot, like, blah, blah, blah. It's like, have you ever just been handed $1 million and said, hey, I know you used to sleep on the floor, and I know you used to eat oodles and noodles, and you used to do all these things for your entire life, and everything you've ever wanted is now at your fingertips, but you should be disciplined with your money. And it's like, yeah, it's a lot easier said than done, my friend. And I think that type of thing that happens to a lot of players, and I think Marshawn taking the initiative to talk about that is cool. But I'm not 100% sure Luke Kuechly is directly because of Marshawn Lynch.
Something to think about.
Something to think about, though. Did Marshawn Lynch, Hall of Famer in his own right, talk Luke Kuechly? Did Marshawn Lynch from the town, okay, the town business, did he convince a Boston College grad that he needs to take care of his chicken and retire? And if he did, that's why football is the most beautiful game on earth. People from two polar opposite parts of the world can come together for an agreement and understanding and for one common goal, and that's the betterment of the future.
That's like Aaron Rodgers and Marshawn Lynch after the game. Going, taking their own special moment, exchanging jerseys. They were on Cal. They're both Cal teammates together.
Two very different individuals. That's why football is the greatest sport on earth, by the way. Matt Rule said this in his press conference, Carolina Panthers, it's real. You walk into a locker room, you got a short little dumpy guy. Oh, he's the kicker, okay? You got a 6'6" guy who's shredded, who's 265 pounds. Oh, that's a defensive end. That guy is from, there. You got a guy from Compton. You got a guy from Bel Air. You got people from all over the place coming together for one common goal. That is why football is the most beautiful game on earth, because of that. And I think that is what people miss whenever they retire, is that camaraderie with people that are very different than you, being able to come together for one goal and being able to make it happen. That'll probably be what Luke Kuechly misses the most, if I had to guess. We got to get to it.
For you, is that what you missed the most?
Well, we have a pretty good thing here, right? I think the ability to still be able to work amongst friends and to be able to BS and things like that, I think that I knew that was what everybody talks about missing. So whenever we started this and then with Barstool and then now alone, I think that is something that has helped me out a lot. And by the way, I think that's what Hasselbeck loved this year whenever he got a chance to hang out with us. Like that's what every retired player talks about. It's like, do I miss training camp? Absolutely not. Do I miss running my head into somebody? Absolutely not. Do I miss the paychecks? Hell yeah, I miss those. But they also miss the camaraderie, and I think I'm very fortunate that I have you guys. You guys.
We're fortunate to have you, man.
I agree.
Glad you're retired.
Yeah. Understatement.
Well, I'm very lucky to be part of the dream team.
It's a good team.
I have the dream team.
Great team.
Ty Schmidt and Evan Foxy.
And the whole gang.
No.
We had to get jean jackets.
Matching jean jackets.
By the way, Foxy and Ty Schmidt are being interviewed by Travis Fulton. And the preview for that podcast says the dream team joins us for a convo. That dream team is Ty Schmidt and Evan Foxy. I'll tell you what, I don't think I've ever heard more accurate words. Have you?
No, never.
The dream team. We're already making the cheat code shirts, aren't we?
Yeah, they're in production right now.
Yeah, they're already in production. It's going to be a little Evan Foxy. I think we should do it with the denim jacket on.
Oh, yeah.
Little 8-bit Evan Foxy, 8-bit Ty Schmidt, cheat code dream team underneath it. 20% off in like 2 days on our store. This bowl season was nothing short of spectacular. We saw great games and performances all month long, and it ended with Clemson and LSU in the college football playoff championship game. Congrats to LSU. Congrats to Clemson on a hell of a season. But did you make this bowl season the greatest of all time? If you did, I bet you ate a whole lot of Cheez-It snacks. The cheesy, crunchy, and perfect satisfying snack had your back all bowl season long. They were with you from the Cheez-It Bowl in Phoenix, where we saw the Air Force Falcons demolish the Washington State Cougars. All the way through the college football playoff championship game down there in New Orleans. And just because the greatest bowl season of all time is over, it doesn't mean your taste buds and cravings for Cheez-It are going to change. Be the MVP of all your upcoming football parties with Cheez-It. Cheez-It, official sponsor of the college football playoff playoff. We're back on the other side with some phone calls. 1-833-622-3331. OBJ's handing out some fake cash. We got some notable news and Jeff Garcia. We got a good day. Thanks for listening. This is the Pat McAfee Show.
Want to put it on?
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here Wednesday, January 15th, 11:24 in our part of the world, 8:24 in the west part of the world. PFT commenter, legend, trying out for the DC Defenders today, and Ocho Cinco also trying out for the XFL. Both The picture of PFT was just popped up. He has a single bar face mask, which is no longer legal in the NFL. If it's legal in the XFL, very excited about that. Also rocking the Rec Specs a la Respect the Specs hot rod kicker down in Georgia. Both PFT commenter and Chad Ochocinco are attempting to be kickers in the XFL. I hope they both make it. That's great for the brand. I've seen a couple balls kicked by PFT, a lot better than I could have ever fathomed. I've seen a couple balls kicked by Chad Ochocinco, a lot better than I could have ever fathomed. That XFL ball, though, not an easy one to kick, if I was to recall accurately, and I hope they both make it. Good for the XFL, by the way, embracing this, and good for those two. Hopefully they become professional athletes yet again.
If Chad makes it, I assume he's going to ask for a fake every single time.
I think yes, sir. You get Ochocinco on your team, he's probably faster than a lot of you. It's same as me. Same as me. You know, every time we went out there for a field goal, all I wanted was a chance for a fake every single time. I get it. Vinatieri's got a record to break and all that stuff. We got points to score. We can run the option out here, though. You know what I mean? I hope Ocho gets a chance to kick. And if PFT makes that team, that's the new Rudy. Yeah. That's the new Rudy if PFT makes that team. Let's get to the phones. Let's go to Richie in Groove City, Pennsylvania. Richie, what's good, dog?
How you doing? I'm just curious to what you think the officials' interference will be like going into the Packers and 49ers game in Santa Clara this weekend.
The refs always interfere with things. That's just since the beginning of time. Amen. Even more so with Alberto Riveron. I think his original question was how much credit does the refs get for the Packers making it?
Yeah, that's definitely probably what he was saying.
I think that's what the original question was. And then when he got on here, he kind of backed off and he said, how are the refs going to affect the Niners-Packers? What was the big thing in the Seattle game that they said that the refs helped the Packers?
Well, the third down at the end there, the Jimmy Graham, that was like that
Have we talked about that on this show yet?
A little bit, yeah.
I guess the internet is saying, now granted, remember, the internet was the first ones to say that Cody Parkey's kick got blocked. Right? The television never said that. And although they always say that the yellow line is not official, the internet sure has made it appear as if that yellow line was potentially off by either a third of a yard, a half a yard, which is a massive difference to everything. And the fact, now granted, let's call a spade a spade. I'll probably never get a job with these people. They had the opportunity to hire me. They didn't even talk to me after I did something for them. Fox got that wrong.
Yeah.
Big time.
You know what I mean? I think that is on Fox. Now, I think we're talking about inches. This is a game of inches, too.
It ain't that hard.
Hey, just put the damn thing on the sticks. How do we not have a camera?
Tough angle.
How do we not have a camera on the other side, though? The only camera they have is the pylon sitting in front of the first down stick, and that thing literally looked like it was used a flip phone, like the brick phone. They zoomed in on it because that's only supposed to be for like 10 yards in front of it. Very interesting. I still think he got it.
Get a better camera.
I think he did too.
I think he got it, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't think anybody's sure. Whatever was called on the field would have remained the call. That ref on the side just so happened to give him an extra 10 yards, and that's just how it goes. Alberto Riveron, Adam in Rapid City, South Dakota. Go big, go blue, go Jacks.
Hey, Pat, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you, pal?
I'm good. Thank you for supporting Adam Terry. Love it. My question for you is, do you think the NCAA will come after you went after the officials at the national championship?
That guy didn't give me an interview. Good question, though, Adam. Because in the main broadcast, I guess Kirk and Fowler, they were a bit more delicate with that push-off at the end because they have to be, I'd assume. Me, Steve, Adam, and Dan were just like, what a terrible call. What an absolutely garbage call, especially in that moment. And it was. It was a garbage call. And I don't know if the NCAA will come after me. I don't know if anybody else will come after us for saying that. I think that was the purpose of our telecast, was to be that type of telecast. But I do believe accountability has to be a little bit higher for these officials. And that's at all stages. Now, they're humans too. They're going to make mistakes. But we're at the point now with technology where their mistakes are absolutely magnified. And especially in a national championship game, I just feel... Now, granted, we thought if you got a chance to review pass interference that it would get better. Somehow it got worse because you have, don't say it. A buffoon. He's a nice guy.
Great guy.
Alberto Riveron is probably a very good guy. I don't know. I've never met him. He's probably a very good guy. But we can all tell that from this year, him watching reviews is not the guy to be doing it. He's not the guy to be doing it. He's not efficient enough. He's not quick enough. And I don't know if he knows exactly what it is. And also, I think he hated the fact that we're utilizing technology to kind of one-up the on-field ref because Alberto Riveron has loyalty to the on-field refs. But in a national championship game, with a touchdown needed, they're down 17 at that point. That ball to Trevor Lawrence where the two were hand jousting and then they called offensive pass interference was just an obviously garbage call. That was obviously a bad call, and you can't have it in those moments. You just can't do it. And nobody's going to want to be a ref because of people like me talking about it. I understand it takes a special person to do it, but we can't have that in the national championship. Hey, we can't have that in the national championship. That just can't happen. And if I'm not going to say it, who will? If not me, then who? And if not now, then when?
Seriously.
And if not it, then why?
Well, and you can argue it one way or another, but that effectively ended the game.
Over.
The game was over after that.
Completely over. They score there. They're down 10, 2 scores. They get a stop. You get the ball back. You got Trevor Lawrence. Bang. We have a whole situation. Now we're in a Did you bet Clemson?
Oh, yeah. Fool! Before the game, I was dynasty over dynasty. Destiny.
You didn't think that, you were dynasty over destiny, and then instead you were destiny over dynasty? I hammered. I mean, the day it came out, me and Ty Schmidt saw the line. It was at 5.5. It actually dropped. I thought it was going to go up. I hammered LSU very, very, very hard. And I completely forgot about that bet until I saw Joe Burrow wincing going into the locker room. And I was like, wait, let me go check this real quick. I couldn't get in the internet. I'm like, that was a big bet I placed on them, and I immediately regretted it. But I do believe that touchdown, that you can't wipe that off the board.
Yeah. I mean, I was an idiot for thinking a team that won 29 straight games and back-to-back potential national champions was going to keep it close.
I will say this. You bet on Clemson for next year.
Yeah.
Oh, big time.
Trevor Lawrence, that dude is the truth, man. Now, granted, he was trying to fit some balls into some spaces. He was overthrown a little bit. Maybe now, as an NFL quarterback, he might have been squeezing the ball a little bit too tight. I even see it whenever I'm playing catch. You squeeze the ball too tight, you try to overthrow it, it comes out wobbly, and then you're off just a little bit, which you can't be against that LSU defense, especially that Stingley Jr. dude. He is unbelievable. He's going to make all the money in the NFL as an island corner. He was very good. But Trevor Lawrence handled that press conference after the game perfectly. I mean, he was sad for the seniors that were leaving. He was like, we're going to get better off of this. He's just bummed. I mean, everything about Trevor Lawrence just gets better and better and better. And this loss is going to make him better and better and better. And they started off a little slow this past year. I think Trevor was trying to be something he wasn't because of all the hype and because of the national championship, and he found himself. I can't wait for a year of Dabo Swinney and that Clemson strength and conditioning staff telling them that they're not good enough. What's going to happen next year? That Clemson team is going to be a buzzsaw. And the ACC knows it. Every time we talk to an ACC coach this year for those Thursday night games, they said we're all kind of the same. A lot of parity in the ACC, except for Clemson. And now they got a point to prove. Now you got them pissed off. I'm excited to see Trevor Lawrence pissed off.
Yeah, they might win every game by like 50 next year.
And they had the number 1 recruiting class, so
that doesn't hurt.
He might throw 80 touchdowns.
And they have Trevor Lawrence. That is a Trevor Lawrence who now has something to prove. Didn't have anything to prove. Number 1 pick since, his senior year of high school.
Yep.
National champion, never lost. And I understand that he's a competitive guy and he has stuff to prove. It's like, yeah, but you listen to this stuff like Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, you name it. And when you have something to prove, it brings out the best in you. Now Trevor Lawrence has something to prove. And by the way, I don't think he does. He's still the number 1 draft pick, still the most. I can't wait to see him in the NFL systems. I can't wait to see all that stuff. But now in his mind, I think he probably has something to prove. And that long-haired, he's a handsome dude. He's going to slaughterhouse next year, I think.
Yeah.
They're talking about Alabama and all these other teams. It's like, I get it. I understand the SEC is going to be very good all the time. A pissed-off Trevor Lawrence is going to be a problem.
Clemson, Ohio State.
By the way, that megacast, super fun way to watch the game. Like, incredibly entertaining. We never really touched on it.
It was kind of stressful. There was a lot going on that one. On yours one? Because, like, it just seemed like there was so much action. And I don't know, because I didn't watch the normal one. Yeah. I don't know if I would have watched the normal one, if it would have seemed like the game was moving that fast or not. But you guys just sprinting up and down the sideline. Just like gives it
Steve
another.
and
It was like watching Cops.
Well, Steve and I stopped.
First half.
Steve
First
Levy
quarter.
and I had a very good agreement, and we had a very good first quarter. We weren't allowed to do anything. They were kicking us off of everything. Like, we're getting yelled at by photographers. And Steve Levy was like, no, I was on the field last year, like during the break. They're like, well, this year there's different rules because of whatever happened. And he's like, oh, unbelievable or whatever. So we had to abide by the rules. So we did have to sprint to get a good spot in the first half. That second half, though, me and Steve were basically in the end zone. The entire time, me and Steve Levy were just chilling there in the end zone. Like, this is awesome. I loved it. I had a blast. Now, again, I think there should have been a little bit more full screen football and then back to us in full screen football, but I'm not the director or the producer or if they're even allowed to do that. Watching it back, I watch it back. But, man, I had a blast. I was very lucky to be a part of that. And I think they picked a good crew, too.
Oh, yeah.
Me, Dan, Steve, and Adam, that's a good crew to have in there, I think. We had a blast. All right, we got to get to a break because Jeff Garcia is on the other side. We'll have like a 10-minute conversation with him about the Niners, what they're going to do with the Packers. We'll talk about the AFC Championship, too. Chiefs, Titans. Are the Titans going to be able to keep Patrick Mahomes off the field long enough for the Titans to score enough to win that game? That almost feels like a team of destiny, by the way. If you're destiny over dynasty, Diggs, you're conflicted, I'd assume, on the AFC side.
Very conflicted.
Let's get to a break. Wednesday, January 15th. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Show. I called football the greatest sport on earth. I got some soccer truthers coming out.
Come on.
Just know to the soccer truthers that are tweeting me, I was better than you at soccer.
Got him.
And I feel this way about football. But, I mean, to each their own. You do what you got to do. It is the world sport. I can agree with that and respect that. But joining us now is a man who is a Grey Cup champion in the CFL, an NFL Pro Bowler, and I believe he is currently in the middle of a workout. Former San Francisco 49er legend, Jeff Garcia.
Good morning. What's happening, man?
What are you doing? Getting after it over there a little bit?
I'm just on a little bike ride. Just a little warm up in the morning, get it going, get the body loosened up.
Oh, my God. Do you do that every single day? Do you do some form of cardio every single day?
No, I actually hate cardio. I despise it. Unless I'm like playing in some basketball league or something like that. But I'll get on my mountain bike every once in a while. I live in a great area where there's a lot of natural paths all around, so I can get on those and get a little something in. Get the body lubed up. As you know, playing this game for a long time, you get into a consistent kind of mode as far as working out, and that's important to me because it's more than anything. It's not so much the physical benefits as it is the mental benefits. Just getting out there and getting my blood going and getting a pump on. I like to get into the gym, though. I'll get into the gym 5 days a week and just kind of try to stay active.
I love that you're a meathead. I need to get back. I need to get back into that, Jeff. I need to get back. I am so fat right now. These last 4 months, I'm 260 pounds right now, Jeff. I'm potentially going to die of cholesterol or heart attack at any given time. I need to get back into it.
Yeah, man. You got to take care of yourself. Come on, man. Get after it, dude. Hey, you know better than that.
Jeff, I don't, actually. Jeff, I don't. All right, let's get to this weekend, shall we? San Francisco 49ers are back on top of the world, hosting the NFC Championship up there in Santa Clara. George Kittle, your Jimmy G, that run game, the defense seems to be back. Richard Sherman can dissect everything, it feels like. Do the Packers have a chance going in there, and how do you see the game playing out?
Well, you know, just like anybody, they have a chance. I mean, obviously, this game comes down to one game. Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, that offensive group that they have, they're talented enough to put points on the board. Now, going back 7-8 weeks when the Niners played them on Monday night, they completely dismantled Green Bay. Really took everything away from them from a defensive standpoint and what Aaron and the offense could do. I mean, they were stagnant. And, you know, I look at the Niners right now. They're just coming together at the perfect time. They got healed up. They got some of their guys, key guys, D Ford, Jaquaski Tart, Quan Alexander on the defensive side. When they were playing top-notch defensive football, that was the first 8 weeks of the season. They were one of the best in the NFL. Then they kind of fell off. They had a few injuries. They kind of fell off a little bit. People started to expose certain things about them. But now getting some of those key ingredients back, along with what they have with Bosa and Armstead and Buckner inside. I mean, this is a group that just plays extremely great team football on defense. And then when you look at their offensive side of the ball with George Kittle at tight end and some of the guys that they have stepping up now, Deebo Samuels, Emmanuel Sanders, those guys at the wide receiver position, and then the three-headed monster of running backs with Mostert and Coleman and Breida and Jimmy G just making good decisions. They're really built well to be good for the next, not just this year, but years to come. But this should be a great matchup. I mean, Aaron's been here before. He's obviously led that team to a Super Bowl title before. They're very capable of coming in and putting a great game plan together and a great game. And these are two coaches that know each other. Kyle Shanahan and
LaFleur,
Green Bay's head coach, yeah, they were together in Washington. So they have familiarity with each other, and it should be a great game.
It's all right. Nobody knew his name before he was hired. It's all right.
I struggle with everybody's name.
No, I think you just did an incredible job breaking down that game. What do you think John Lynch – why do you think – let me change that question. Why do you think John Lynch has had such success building up this roster? What you just said, they're also – I think they're contractually in a good spot for a few years as well. They have a quarterback that they've paid, and they've still been able to put together a good team. Why do you think John Lynch has had such good success at the GM position?
I think, you know, Pat, oftentimes those GMs are guys that have never played the game of football. they don't know what it's like to be in a locker room. You get a guy like John Lynch, who's been a Super Bowl champion, who's been on the ballot for the Hall of Fame, who was such an elite pro for his entire career, with the defensive mindset. As you know, as you've seen in the past, teams that are built strong on the defensive side of the ball, you look at Denver a few years ago when they played Carolina, it wasn't Peyton Manning's offense that was leading that team. It was a defensive football team that was really making that team outstanding. Prior teams to that, the Ravens, different situations where defensive football overpowers great offensive football. And I think when they started building this team, they really focused on getting that foundation of a defense, that defensive line, that area that could put pressure on a quarterback, that could stop the run game. And they've just done such a great job. I think with John Lynch, a guy who has played the game for so many years, has such great experience, who's an intellectual guy as it is, from studying the game and understanding the chemistry of a team and how important it is to put those pieces to the puzzle together that really fit well, that gel well together. They've done a great job of doing that. They've weeded out some of the negativity. They pushed it to the side, not allow it to become a disease from within the locker room. And just their talent and what they've been able to see from the eye. And Deebo Samuel's in the second round. I mean, you can talk about the receiver from Seattle as being a steal, but Deebo Samuel's is turning out to be a great find in the second round for the 49ers. Just what he can do, his versatility, not only as a wide receiver, but as a running back in the backfield. What he can do when he gets the ball in his hands has been exciting. So you look at just the things they've done over the last couple of years. They've really built the team up strong on the defensive side with a lot of good young talent. And then they put some good pieces in place that and look at George Kittle. They lucked out on that one. To look at a guy that they got in a later round to just be the beast that he is on the field, the energy that he brings, it's awesome.
Well, you need to luck out every once in a while with later round picks, but also your culture creates that. And I think that's something that the San Francisco culture, the Niners culture, is a great one. And Deebo, best name I've ever heard, but also he has fit in very well there. And I think Jimmy G, everybody says people are game managers. I think he's a great quarterback. And I think going into last year, there was a lot of hype on them. They obviously didn't work out because Jimmy got hurt. This year, not as much. Now they're kind of off and running. Can't wait to watch them take on the Packers. Love Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be a good game. Let's flip over to the AFC. How do you stop? I guess the Texans had the answer for the Chiefs, and it was score early, have them make some special teams mistakes, take advantage of them. They're up 24-zip. And then Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid with his beautiful mind and all of those weapons on that offense, they could have scored 100 if they would have played 4 good quarters. And I don't know how you stop that. How do you stop that, Jeff? And are the Titans the team to do it?
I know. It was amazing, man, to watch that game play out, to see Houston go up 24-0, but know that it's like they were up 24-0, but you knew that Kansas City wasn't out.
Yes.
I mean, you know, they had a couple incompletions on third down that would have extended drives, and those turned into like nightmarish situations. They got the blocked punt for a touchdown. Then they had the fumbled punt that gave a short field to Houston. You knew it was just a matter of time, but how quickly they were able to turn it around, to score 21 points within 4 minutes, to go up at halftime 28-24. You knew at that point that Houston had no answer coming into the second half. And how do you stop those guys in Kansas City? I mean, I was just trying to think about that earlier today. They have such great weapons, but Patrick Mahomes, it's like he has an open receiver every single play. I don't know how you stop this group of talent, what they're able to do with their running backs out of the backfield, how Patrick's able to extend time, buy time when he needs to. He's great and calm within the pocket, but he's also the best when he's outside of the pocket. What he's able to do with his legs and his arm outside the pocket is unbelievable. And, you know, you look at what sort of team can stop this team. First of all, the best defense to Patrick Mahomes is keeping him on the sideline.
Yeah, exactly.
And so when you look at how Tennessee is built with that run game, with Henry, and what they're able to do physically in moving chains, and hopefully ball control will play in their favor, that's really the only way that I could see a team being able to match up with Kansas City. Now, not enough, I think, attention has been put on what Tennessee can do on the defensive side of the ball. They have beat Kansas City earlier in the season in Tennessee. I don't recall exactly what the situation was, whether Mahomes was playing in that game or not, but they've proven themselves that they can play with this team. And I think going into this game with the confidence that they've built up over the last 2 weeks with big-time wins in New England, in Baltimore, I mean,
are you picking the Titans?
They're playing with a chip on their shoulder. And that's a tough team to play right now with the chip on your shoulder.
You just picked the Titans? Is that what you just did, Jeff Garcia?
I didn't pick the Titans, but I did.
All right, Jeff, get back to your workout. I can't thank you enough for joining us. Every time you come on here, I learn, and I'm intrigued by your conversation. You're very good, man.
I appreciate it, man. Hey, all the best to you. Maybe we'll see you in Super Bowl time.
You got it. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Garcia, I appreciate you, man. All right, Nick, we got to get to some news that we missed here. He's very good, by the way.
He is.
Yeah. He just stopped mid-workout to do that. I appreciate that. Nick, let's get to some news that we missed before we got to get off the air.
News we missed brought to you by Manscaped. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with the code AMERICA. Let's get to it. Ken Jennings captured his third win and took home the Jeopardy Greatest of All Time championship last night after beating James Holzhauer in Final Jeopardy.
Well, there was a couple situations that occurred last night during that I watched. First of all, James Holzhauer won that whole thing. He might not have $1 million in his pocket, but he buried Brad, which I appreciate. I thought that was great. It's been a lovely addition to my life. I love Jeopardy Go. Good idea by them. And there was also a moment there where Trebek basically said, this is probably never going to happen again. And there was a real moment. Shout out to those three for being great on Jeopardy. Shout out to Ken Jennings getting another $1 million.
LSU's story in the aftermath of a viral video showing OBJ handing out cash to LSU players after Monday night's national championship victory over Clemson is that the money was fake.
Well, my issue with this is I dapped up Odell Beckham Jr. probably 5 times during that game. Not a single dollar was fake. By the way, I'd never be able to prove if that money's fake or not. Never will be able to prove it. It's a great defense. Even in the court of law, ain't that right, Todd? There's nothing you can prove from that video that says that isn't fake money right there.
It's all hearsay.
Everything.
Kick it out of court.
Yep. NCAA they're going to try to do something, but you won't be able to figure it out unless somebody has actual footage of him walking directly with that dollar straight to buy something. They'll never be able to prove that it wasn't fake money. And I like that. I like the fact that LSU was just like, yeah, not real.
Prove it. Something the NCAA might be able to do something about. Ex-Penn State football players accusing Coach James Franklin and his staff of ignoring violent sexual hazing on the team.
Not at Penn State.
Former player Isaiah Humphries said that upperclassmen would threaten young players by saying, I'm going to Sandusky.
Not there.
That's disgusting. Hazing is stupid. You need those young guys on your team if you want to win. Why would you piss them off? That really stinks for Penn State, obviously, to be diving back deep into that. Also, Sidney Crosby's back and is unbelievable. I feel
4
like that's
points.
some news that we missed. No big deal. He has the dangles, too. No big deal. All right, Wednesday, January 15th is coming to a wrap here. I believe Jim Rome is next for a lot of you. I appreciate you so much for listening and watching every single day. We try to make good shows. Yesterday stunk. Today was a lot better. Shout out Tucker Barnhart, Thomas Morstead, and Jeff Garcia and all the calls that we got to. To those that we didn't, we'll get you tomorrow. We can't wait to chat with you. Same Pat time, same Pat channel. This has been the Pat McAfee Show. That was lame.